How's it going? I hope you are doing as good as I'm doing right now. Today was just kind of a meh kind of day. I can't be mad at all. All the weights were pretty solid and everything looked nice. But I've been talking about this like all week, but with all the moving around and the schedule changing, I'm not used to working out so late or being so busy. And it's basically finals week for me, so just a lot of mental energy drainage has been happening. But physically, shit, I don't know. We can put it at a 7.125 because why not? I don't think today was that bad of a day. I think I was more dragged down by my mental energy. Mentally, I'll put it at a 7, just slightly behind, kind of like yesterday. Not too bad at all, again, nothing went wrong. All the weights went well for, technically, and so, it's just a matter of, I gotta get moving a little bit more, I gotta, put in the actions that will make these days not happen as frequently as they have been. So sleeping better, getting to the gym a little bit earlier in the day, eating a little bit better because I've been eating like shit. But something I thought that would be kind of cool to talk about was during my workout, something that did not aid in my lack of mental energy is for a little, I'm pretty sure I've always had this issue, and I think a lot of people end up developing this kind of issue, if not starting with it. Hip imbalances are so common in squats just because people don't train mobility that much. And this has always confused me because I have trained the absolute shit out of my mobility, but I literally ended up watching a YouTube video on it during my workout today just because I kept thinking about it. And like I said yesterday, you shouldn't overthink it during the workout, but I went through my squats and then I overthought it a little bit. Because I had already gone through the workout, so I was like, that's fine. But I realized that there were certain flexions and extensions I had not been practicing in my hips. So I squish my right side a little bit more. The imbalance is on my left. I guess you would say the imbalance is on my right, but I should have full squat depth on my left, and I only have it on my right. Regardless of that, that puts a little bit more strain on your low back sometimes, especially on a pause day. And when you're not really in it and you're not bracing your core as well as you should be, it can put you at a risk for injury. So I thought that what would be really important to bring up for the majority of people, because I think most people can do this, so hear me out. I'm going to explain why. Everybody's going to think I'm crazy for a second. But I think it is a really important thing to train mostly with no belts and as little equipment as possible. I don't count my lifting shoes because they're essentially required in Olympic weightlifting. I know you could train and do it without them, but it makes you less optimal. There's no point. And for the people who are going to be like, oh, well, I train less optimally when I don't have a belt on, I'm going to get into it. So I have not worn a belt for my workouts in, I want to say it's been about a year and a half, maybe getting closer to 2 years. And what caused this change is because, as I was saying, I used to have such horrible mobility. I never trained it. I just wanted to get strong and like throw weights for fun and not think about it. And it used to fuck me up a lot. And on top of that, it's really hard for you to get confident in the lifts when you allow your body to rely on outside material. Not to say that it's a bad thing. I think that if you have like an injury or a recurring back issue, like for example, I have had recurring wrist issues because I do bench with Olympic weightlifting. It's two different types of mobility. The bench keeps my wrists tight and narrow, and Olympic hyperextends it back a little bit more than what should be comfortable. So I've just had reoccurring wrist issues because of it. So I like to keep on my wrist wraps whenever I'm doing bench or Olympic lifting because they don't tighten. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like tightening around my wrist like 50,000 times like a lot of people do. They don't tighten. It is just to keep my wrist in place because it's just no point in risking injury. So if you have a back injury or reoccurring back injuries, or you just can't, like some people have spinal issues, whatever. If you have an issue like that, that's different. You need it because it's not like if you're going to get injured just from squatting in general, then you need to be extra careful. But what I want to focus on are the majority of people who have just grown to rely on these materials like a belt, wrist wraps, way too tight knee sleeves. Like my knee sleeves, I can fold them 4 times flat. They're like, they don't tighten at all. Again, it's just for that little bit of compression in my knee that I just to keep away from injury whenever I go heavy. But more importantly than that, because I'm not trying to be a dick about it, I know a lot of people have their own wants, and again, you need to work out for your enjoyment first before anything. Like, you need to put your body first, and then you need to prioritize the enjoyment that you have in these workouts. So if you have a really shit time working out with a belt on or whatever, and it makes you hate it, then do whatever you want. But I think that most people would come to benefit from just keeping it off for a while. And it's the biggest thing that I've learned about any kind of programming, or getting used to anything new. It was a big change for me even when I put my lifting shoes on. It didn't just naturally make me better. Is you have to drop your maxes a little bit. Nobody wants to do this, but god damn it, the long-term positivity that comes behind it, the progression is it's bigger than anything else that I've done in my training. You can always try to train optimally with your reps, your sets, your percentages, how often you train, how hard you do. Some people do the RPM scale or RPE, whatever. But when it comes to allowing yourself to rely on this equipment, it inherently limits your mobility and your I've talked about this before, but your core confidence. I want to have as much confidence in my core strength as possible because most lifts are limited by your core. Bench is the one where it's like kind of in the middle, but you still use a lot of core drive. So if your core's not there, you're not going to be able to bench. You just need a little bit less than it than the other ones. But Olympic lifting and any form of squatting or deadlifting, whatever, your core has to be as braced and as tight as possible without fucking it up, or else you can't lift. So when I started this kind of training, I had recovered from a double low back tear in my muscles. It was so unfortunate. I think it took about 6 to 8 months of full recovery until I was hitting weights that I had used to been hitting. And I tried to come back and go super heavy, wearing a belt every day and all my knee sleeves and shit. And I almost blew out my knees like just a couple months in. It was really stupid. So I sat there and I was like, okay, what is going to make me better? Because I'm committed to this for as long as I can do it. I want to be in a lifetime, even if you want to do it for the next 5 years and then you're going to be done. Why not make it as optimal and efficient as possible? You will have so much less plateauing when you have as much core strength as possible. I mean, look at the Chinese lifters in the Olympics. Like, their backs are incredible, and their abs and their backs are crazy. And when I say core confidence, I don't just mean your abs, I mean your entire trunk, your abs and your low back, and some of your mid back, even some of your upper back, whatever. But more importantly, starting this, it was like, I think I tried for about a week to put some weight on that I had been doing consistently, and I ended up just having really bad form, and everything felt really shitty because my body wasn't conditioned enough to do that kind of training, especially with the better form, because the better form, the more core confidence you have, taken off the belt or whatever, you will inevitably over time get better form. Same thing in the Olympic lifts. You're not going to make that huge amount of progress overnight. It's just a continuous, consistent training and allowing yourself to do it as raw and on your own as possible in order to maximize how much you'll be able to do with the equipment on whenever you want to compete or PR or whatever. And so I ended up taking I want to say 35 to 40 pounds off of my maxes, at least in the Olympics and squat lifts. And that sucks a lot. Anybody who goes down that much knows, especially after I had just gotten over an injury and then I was dropping weight again. But I decided we're going to do it right this time, and build it up as limitless as possible, all me. And then we'll see how the progress goes. And you have to, again, it's blind commitment. You just have to go into it and try something new. And it was a big jump for me, but I thought that this would yield the best results, and I wanted to try it for as long as it felt good. And I go up 5 pounds every time I do a successful program cycle. So I think it took somewhere like 4 to 5 months, maybe a little more, to get back to where I was. But my form was crazy good. Like, oh my God, I could sit in a squat for as long as I wanted. I could drop into the bottom of a snatch without a worry in the world. I know so many people will like do a snatch and then end up doing like a power snatch and then squatting into it. Same thing on the cleans, or like having an unstable core when you dip and drive through the split jerk. Even on especially on my front squats, like it was so easy to like hold it on my delts compared to before, because my core got so much stronger and the form was there, So I guess just more than anything, because again, take it with a grain of salt. You have to have fun. You need to prioritize your own body. If you have injuries, like I'm speaking this from my own biased experience. But if you've been thinking that your form's been lacking, or your body's been hurting more than normal, or you've been plateauing for a long time, put your weights down 15 to 20 pounds. I did a big jump at first because I had so many injuries at once. But for a normal person, I think like in between 15 to 25 pounds maybe, something like that. Just drop it a little bit, and then work for a cycle or two on whatever program you're doing, and then try to go back to the normal weights that you had started with, and just look at the difference in form and confidence in your lifting. So many people will get under a fucking squat or an Olympic lift, and they won't be able to even like sit there and like calm their body down properly. Like your core should not be shaking just from holding on to the weight, or standing with a squat. You need to have as much bracing ability as possible to maintain your form on the way out of the hole on any form of squat variation, because that's just most squats aren't even like leg exercises. You use your legs to get out of the hole, and then the moment you hit 90 degrees, it's all core from there. So why not maximize your core strength? People who like to bench a lot will do their fucking dumbbell benches because they want to have as much stability in their form as possible. They don't want to go up with one arm and then the other. So why not make your core as strong as possible so that your squats feel easy? I don't even really stretch anymore. I just start squatting and I feel great. So if you're consistent and you maintain that core confidence and work on your mobility a little bit too, I'm not saying that this will just solve your mobility issues, but it'll make it a lot easier to rely on your natural strength to become better. So again, take it with a grain of salt. Hopefully I got some food to eat. God damn it, I'm so goddamn hungry. But enjoy yourself otherwise. That's all I got.